What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Jump Rope Veteran, Jump Rope to Freedom. In today's podcast, we have Brandon, also known as Jump Rope Champion. He's a competitive rope jumper, professional rope jumper, and one of the best rope jumpers that I have ever seen and talked to. And on this podcast, he shares some of his tips for learning jump rope tricks and how he prepares for competitions and how he's dealt with injuries over his career. Much respect to Brandon for taking the time to be on this episode. I learned a lot from him, and I'm sure you will too. So let's get into it.
All right, Brandon, thanks a lot, man, for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm looking forward to talking with you, getting into your background and your story here. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people are going to benefit from hearing this episode. And the first thing that I'd like to know, and that I think anyone watching this channel and podcast will want to know, is how did you get started with jump rope? What's your story behind that?
For me, well, I started jump rope when I was a little kid. My mom, she's my coach. She jumped before me, and I'm just a second generation jumper. I like to say I started jumping right out of the womb. But I would say I started really jumping at the age of 5. My first jump rope competition was at the age of 6. Ever since then, I just fell in love with the sport. So I didn't really have jump rope for heart. In my elementary school, it wasn't a big thing, or I didn't have a jump rope team, but I was already jumping rope because I would go to practice with my mom after school hours from 6:30 to 8:30, Mondays, Wednesdays, and we would practice on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturdays, we would practice from 10 to 2, and on Sundays, we would do either a morning practice or evening practice, depending on how the day is going. Most of those practices will be from 4:30 to 7:30 on Sundays. So that's pretty much how my schedule worked as jumping rope. Um, I would say what really got me into it was just the strenuous work that I could see all of the other jumpers before me were doing. I mean, they were working really hard trying to compete and show their skills. I mean, we as a team, we even competed within each other. So it was everybody was pushing their hardest and jumping to the best of their ability. So as a kid, I was just running around trying to do everything that everyone else is doing, trying to learn all of the tricks and go as fast as I can, compete with everyone. And that's what gave me my competitive edge that I have now.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I mean, a lot of times you see second generation, whether that be basketball or sports, and sometimes people aren't really all that happy with it. So, you feel like you fell in love with it immediately and that it was never something that was handed to you to just go and do.
No, I fell in love with it. My mom didn't just, give me the opportunity. She gave me my own choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of my brothers and all of my siblings, they also jumped and they didn't stick with it. They jumped for a couple years. Some of them even won, championships, ADDL championship, because we did ADDL when I was little. And then when I got about 5 or 6, that's when we actually did our first USA jump rope competition. So when they competed, you know, they didn't stick through it, but the love that I had for it, it just grew. And then the opportunity started to come. So then even it grew even bigger for me. So it was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because it's always about doing what you love. A lot of people get kind of forced into things and then they find out later in life that they didn't really like it. But I mean, it's good to hear that even though you were a kid when you started, that that you actually love doing it, because it is a great thing, jump rope is. Yeah.
Yes, I loved everything about it. I mean, the tricks that the older jumpers were doing, I wanted to do. So I would try it and hurt myself, be on the mat, be on the side somewhere, or if I didn't like the practice, because I'm a kid, so I would just be running around with the jump rope, just acting out. But I was always around jump rope, and that's what made me really fall in love with it. Just seeing all of the older jumpers compete, and I just wanted to be like them.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you got older and you started learning more tricks and going through the competitions, I mean, what was your process in preparing for competitions and doing your very best in those competitions?
Well, first of all, I would say the first thing in my process was trusting in my mom. As my coach, I listened to everything that she did for us, the best ability, the best that I can. You know, not always going the way it's supposed to go, but I give all my credit to her because she coached me through everything. She gave me all the knowledge that I knew. I mean, I would see her after hours just looking at other videos of other jumpers jumping, and growing her knowledge. And as I was seeing that, I wanted to grow my knowledge. So that was the first thing I did, was trusting my mom. The second thing is trying to put in the work. The
Yeah.
work did not come easy. I mean, when I say we would be at practice doing thousands and thousands of jumps, whether that's speed jumping, single bounce jumping, tricks, um, just strenuous work, and just seeing that improvement is what really just got me into trusting in the process. And then eventually, as I got older, I would know what to do within that year that I had, because jump rope competitions, they were really only year round. So you only get one competition, the for the big one, which was USA Jump Rope. That was the main competition, and that only came one time. You would do your local competitions, and those were even hard too. Um, but for a boy, it wasn't as hard as if a girl was jumping, because there weren't as many boys jumping. So
Sure.
for me, in my area, I was like the only boy really, in my age division. There were other boys that were younger or older, but as far as myself, there weren't really too many jumpers. I would say in my age, I would say maybe 4 or 5, and we were all friends.
Yeah.
So that was that process. And then as far as like practicing and things like that, we were practice for 2 hours, a practice, and for that 2 hours we are jumping or working out. There's no playing around, nothing like that. My mom had us jumping and making sure that we competed. She treated it like a real sport, and that's what made me think of it as a real sport, because we're
Yeah.
at practice and we're practicing hard. We're not just get in the ropes and let's do something. No, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do some lunges. We're gonna do some suicides. We're gonna do anything we can to strengthen our body to actually get ready to compete in jump rope, because it wasn't easy.
Wow.
Every It wasn't given to us. Competitions were hard, even though everyone was friendly. The competitions were so hard. You would have so many ties and so many jumpers in within 5 jumps, competing against each other just to go to the national level. So that was that process. And then once you get to the national level, you had to win at the national level in your age division and then win in the overall category. So that was even harder. And to be able to get to the grand national level was just amazing. That was the highest achievement that you can do. And everybody wanted to do that. So that was the process. um, Listening to my mom, practicing hard, and just being able to do the things that I practice so I can, compete and then go to that national level.
Oh, that's fascinating. See, I want to go back to the practices because I'm trying because I've never done competitive jump rope. I don't, and you did a little bit of detail on the practices, but I was just envisioning jumping the entire time. But you're talking about suicides and other exercises. So walk me through what a practice would actually look like for those 2 hours, like how it would be segmented.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for practice, the first thing we did when we came in, we either ran laps to music or we did at least 20 laps. First thing coming in. That
Wow.
was that was a given. So if you didn't want to run, just don't come to practice, because that's the first thing you're gonna do. After that, we will warm up, whether it be jumping without the rope. So we would do like speed steps without the rope,
Wow. Yeah.
or we would do a little bit of jumping with the rope, depending on how my mom wanted it to go. Then after we did that warm up, we would stretch. We would all stretch together. Everybody did the same stretch. If you were on the wrong stretch, my mom was telling you, "Hey, you're doing the wrong stretch." So everything was together. We all had to be in unison. After we stretched, then we pulled out the ropes a little bit. We pulled out the ropes. We started jumping. Whether we wanted to do speed or freestyle, however she wanted to do it, we would just do that for a little bit, just to get our body a little bit warmer after the stretch. And then
Yeah.
after we did that, we went into exercises. So we would have to do lunges, we would have to do squats, we have to lift dumbbells, And we did that for about, that would take about 30 minutes to an hour. My mom loves to exercise, whether it's working out with weights or doing um, calisthenics with your own body. So we did that for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then for the rest of the time of the practice, that's when we got into our teams to do double dutch and do teamwork, involvement with each other, whether we did double dutch speed, double dutch freestyle, or we did team single rope speed, things like that. So it basically ran, we ran, we warmed up, we stretched, we exercised, and then we did our jumping. So every practice, I would say our jumping only equaled up to about an hour because it was
Wow.
2 hours of practice. The other hour is about working out and exercising and building your strength in your body.
Now that is interesting. I appreciate you walking me through that because yeah, so what is a good thing to take away from that? There's a couple of things I took away from that. The first is that you do jumping half the time. And then the first part is that you don't even bring out the ropes. You're actually doing shadow jumping or speed training without the rope, which is something I think is really important to get
Yeah,
the fundamental down before you have the rope, because people trip over the rope a lot. But one good way to do it is to not even use the rope and just to mimic and shadow jump before you pick the rope up. So that is fascinating.
yeah. My mom believed in that a lot. She believed that, if you can do it outside the ropes, you can do it inside the ropes.
Yeah.
So we practiced that and we drilled that over and over again just so we can get it right. And then once we came into the ropes, we had to be able to adjust to that rope being, around us.
No, it's a great, what you hit on is a great lesson to always have the fundamentals down before
Yeah,
you try something. It's going to eliminate, at least, I mean, I'm nowhere near the level that you're on, but I can tell you that just going through without the rope and having the fundamentals down will eliminate a lot of frustration in the beginning of just
yeah.
trying to jump right into it, you know? Yeah.
Right. That it definitely eliminates everything because it trains your body to um have that form right.
Yeah.
Once you do it without the rope, you have the stamina to do it with the rope and have that form because everybody knows once you get tired, you lose your form.
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
you're doing it without the rope and you're building that strength and that stamina, then once you grab the rope, your form will be there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll switch over that. I really appreciate you walking me through that because those are some important lessons that you hit on right there with with not using the rope and building your foundation and the fundamentals. But as far as ropes go, I'm sure that you have a ton of jump ropes. What's your favorite rope that you've used throughout your entire career up till now?
So as far as my ropes, I would say I've used a lot of different companies. Before when we first started out, we used byjumpropes.net.
Yeah,
Um, we would use those as far as our um, freestyle and PVC ropes. So it all just depends on what kind of rope I'm using at the time. We're a beater rope team. We we don't really use licorice PVC, but we do use it to train and things like that. So we would use byjumpropes.net, and then eventually we started using jumping rope.
okay,
We are a jumping rope team. Most of our ropes are jumping rope now. We use jumping rope speed ropes. We use jumping rope beaded ropes, and we also use jumping rope PVC cable and wire like that. We believe that jumping rope is the best company for jump ropes. Um, it was it came about by Molly Metz. And she is also a competitive jumper that competed against my mom for years. They would go back and forth, back and forth. So we believe that jumping rope is really great with their technology on the ball bearing of the speed rope. It makes your rope go a lot faster. And at the time in USA Jump Rope, all of the jumping rope ropes were being used to break the records and have, the fastest jumpers.
Mhm.
So once we got that knowledge, we, went with it and we loved the rope so much that we stuck with it. Recently, I actually came across some new ropes that I've never seen before. As far as freestyle with the beaded rope, by jumpropes.net, when you have the long handle, everybody uses that long, hard type of handle with the it's like a grip in the
Yeah,
middle. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that was the rope that I was using before. But once I got to this kind of rope, I realized that it is amazing to use a rubber long handle rope, because when that handle hits you, it doesn't hurt as much.
Mm.
And you're able to grip it a lot better when you use it. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I was playing basketball, so I'm a little tired.
No, you're good. You're good.
But as far as that long handle grip, I feel as though rubber is a lot easier to grip than the hard handle of BuyJumpRopes.net. So I started using that now. And then my mom was also able to look up and find a new kind of actual rope. So everyone knows, if you don't know, a beaded rope has the either long or short handle, and it has a rope, and then there are beads around it.
Yeah.
So the beads, I still use jumping rope beads. But as far as the rope quality is different. So now I'm using a different rope. Hopefully I'll eventually start selling those ropes and getting the mass production from it, because you have to get it from China. So
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I've heard of jumping rope, but I've never used their rope. So I need to do some research on that, because Buy Jump Ropes is the rope that I use. The Elite SRS Pro Freestyle is the one that I will normally use to do the freestyle type jumping that I do. So
yeah,
yeah,
so as
that's
far as
awesome.
their long handles are really great. Jumping rope doesn't really have long handles for freestyle anymore. They do have a flex rope that they use, and we use that rope. That handle is pretty good. But as far as the long handle, we still use BuyJumpRope.net's long handle. But as
Hmm.
far as the beads and the rope, we get our beads and our rope from Jumping Rope. We just
Okay, so do you actually make the ropes yourself? So you source the materials and then make and construct your own ropes for your
yes.
team? Oh, okay,
So
great.
all the ropes are made by hand. We like to take them apart and do our own patterns for the beads and stuff like that. And we also, switch the beads around to match the colors of the team. So our jumpers have levels. You can compare it to, I would say, karate. We have white, green, yellow, blue, and red. And once you do a certain amount of tricks and get a certain amount of speed jumps, you move on to the next level. So that is how that works. And all of the ropes, so we have white ropes, yellow ropes, green ropes, blue ropes, and red ropes, to match the color of the uniform that you wear. Because my mom wants us to be uniform all the time.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about jump rope, the beads and the colors being like karate as far as being correlated to the skill level that you're at. That's
Oh,
amazing. I had no
yeah,
idea.
my mom just uses that for her team. I'm not sure if other teams do it that way. There are levels to jump rope, as everyone knows. But as far as my mom, she just uses that technique to better her jumpers and move on to the next level. So she likes to give them incentives for just doing better.
Okay, I think that's a great thing though. Yeah, that's pretty clever. I never would have thought about that. Wow.
I didn't
Yeah,
think of
that's really
it
cool.
either.
Yeah, that is really cool. And so as far as the tricks go, we were talking about tricks. What's the most difficult up to this point in your career? What's the most difficult trick that you've ever mastered and learned, and why was it so difficult?
So this trick, everyone knows it, is the Sunny D. The Sunny D is the hardest trick I've ever tried to learn. It took me years. It literally took me years to learn that trick. Being able to do a frog and bringing the rope backwards around to your feet was at the time one of the hardest tricks to do. There were so many jumpers trying to do it and trying to get it. Now it's just like, okay, I'm gonna do a Sunny D. I'm gonna do a Sunny D with the AS. But
Yeah.
back then, when I was, I would say in my teens, the Sunny D was not even seen on competition floor. The Sunny D was so hard to do that jumpers wouldn't even try to, put it in the routine, because it took so much energy just to get it done. So I would say that is the hardest trick. Even to this day, I still struggle with it sometimes. But it is the hardest trick for me to do, and it's also my favorite trick.
Well, I've never heard of it. Well, what could you describe it for me? Because I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So you ever seen someone do a frog where they go to their hands and they pull the rope under?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a Sunny D is when you go to your frogs, you actually pull the rope like I would say under your feet or on the side of your body, and you go backwards and pull it under.
Oh, okay. So it's like a reverse frog then?
Yes, a reverse
Okay.
fall. Yep, they call it the Sunny D.
Yeah, that does sound pretty
Yeah.
difficult. And
It's really difficult for I don't. It's like the technique to it is when you do a frog, you come down. But for the Sunny D, the first thing you have to do is go up before you even come down, just so you can get that height to get that rope around you. So
okay.
it took a lot of years for me to get that trick.
So how old were you when you first started trying that? And then how old were you when you finally got it?
I would say I started that trick when I was about 13.
Okay.
I first seen it at a workshop, and there were higher jumpers. I would say the most popular jumpers at the time. I don't think Nick Werder was actually trying it, but I would say maybe I saw LJ trying the trick with Zev Troxler. And when they were trying the trick, I wanted to try the trick as well. Oh, Stewart was also trying the trick, and I just wanted to get it. It was amazing. It was a frog. Everyone loves to do frogs. Everyone loves to do double frogs, but not everyone was doing a backwards frog.
Okay.
So for that to be done, it was just like, I got to do that trick. And the more I got it, the more I got frustrated. The more I kept not getting it. So I was just like, man, how do I get this trick? And then you get to get that community where you asking other jumpers, how do I get this trick? I don't understand. I'm getting so close. I'm getting under my feet. It's hitting my heels, but I'm not getting that rope under. And that process of me just doing that trick over and over again about hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of times, is it was just a process that once I got it, I was just like, oh, I was going crazy. And then, you know, I believe the first time I got it was actually at another workshop about, I would say 16 or 17 years old was when I really, you know, was mastering the trick and getting the trick done. I would say 16 was about the first time I actually landed the trick. Then it took me about a year after that just to, get it consistently.
Yeah. Wow. So what do you think, what small change do you think got you over the edge to being able to get it?
Getting that height, from going like when we do a frog, my mom calls it a snap down because it's like you snap your legs down to the ground. So
Yeah.
that's a different name for it that I like to say. But for the Sunny D, it's like you had to lift your body in the air and hold your body, enough just to get that rope around, and that took enough time. But what really changed it was the fact that I was able to whip the rope with my wrists. Once
Oh,
somebody told me that instead of trying to bring your whole arm around your body and try to whip it around with your wrist to get it a little bit faster, that is when I was able to really get over that hump and get the trick done.
yeah, that kind of ties into jump rope in general because you see people trying to move their arms so much rather than just using their wrists to rotate the rope around, which I find it to be much easier to use your wrist. You can jump a lot longer doing it that way than flailing your arms and all that, you know?
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
The only difference is to me when I, was thinking about doing the trick was being able to get the rope around. So
Yeah.
you would have that problem of the rope just hitting you in the back of the head or hitting you in the back or your bottom side, because you're not getting your arm around to get it around your back. So I was trying to figure out how to do that. Yeah. So for the Sunny D, I would say getting that arm motion around, with your wrist and being able to get your arm a little bit around is what was the hardest part of trying to get the trick done, because it was just two things that you don't think about doing when you're trying to just get that trick. You just want to think about getting your arm around, but getting your wrist to turn while getting your arm around, I would say, is definitely the difficult part.
Okay. I'm gonna have to watch a video of that because it sounds pretty complicated.
Yes.
So I'm gonna watch a video on that. And so your name, so jump rope champion. So I'm assuming that you won some championships before. What what events did you win those championships in?
So I won for 30-second speed, 1 minute speed, and 3 minute speed. And USA Jump Rope, those were the 3 individual speed events. I've only won Grand National Champion in single rope speed. As far as those events, I've won all of them. I've never won a team championship. I've gone to stage. I've never gone to stage for freestyle. Freestyle is not my specialty. It's only been recently that I've been just trying to, you know, do these tricks and getting the Sunny D and stuff like that. So speed is my specialty. I like to go fast.
Speed. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So those
So
3 events. Yeah. So
yeah.
what kind of rope are you using for that?
The jumping rope speed cable.
The speed cable? Okay.
Yep. So when you do speed, everyone uses a wire. If you're not using a wire, you're at a disadvantage. As far as that goes, everyone, if you've used it, you know that when you get hit with it, it hurts because it whips you and it leaves a whip mark every single time.
Yeah.
So I gained the ability to not only not wanting to miss, but even if I do get hit, being able to take that hit and keep going. Training that over and over again is definitely strenuous on your body because of the whip marks, and you can get whipped anywhere.
Bad, huh?
It hurts pretty bad when you're going so fast and it just hits you. It's like so being able to train that and having that heart to keep going after getting whipped is something that jumpers just don't have on them. You have to be able to train to take that hit.
Sure. So you have to shorten the rope and kind of bend over when you do that, right? The
Yes.
speed. Yeah, I've seen people doing that on Instagram. It seems like they're like looking at the ground, you know?
Yeah.
They don't even know. So that's what you have to do with that, right?
Yeah. So the Chinese, they are amazing. I've never seen any jumper bend over for that amount of time and go that fast. Jumpers in the United States, we tend to bend a little bit, but they bend all the way over. And I try to practice that technique, but I just can't bend that much. So for me, what I'm looking at is the rope. So when the rope is passing, I'm looking at it. I'm just looking at the rope constantly. So that's what I'm looking at. So that's why I'm usually bent over. Because if you're looking at the rope, you're kind of looking down and you can see, things that are going on. So I'm able to see my knee and the rope past me. I'm able to see that. That is when I'm, looking at when I'm jumping speed.
Sure. And to train up for that, do you use a weighted rope or are you using that cable rope the entire time for your training?
It depends on, what training we're doing. If we're training for the event itself, we're going to use the wire rope, because using the wire rope, you have to practice. You can't just go from using a weighted rope or a heavier rope to using a wire rope because it's so light. So when you turn it, you got to be able to adjust to that rope moving it at a certain speed itself, rather than using a heavier rope to turn around. So as far as the training goes, it depends. If we're doing like a marathon, or I said a marathon, but like just a regular workout where we're just jumping the songs, we would use a beaded rope or a PVC depending on, which rope we were supposed to use. But if we're training for 30 seconds, we're going to use the speed rope.
Okay.
So it just depends on, what my mom told us to do.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. It's just you see people jump that fast, because I've seen videos of you going that quickly, and I'm just thinking, it's just how does someone train to be able to move that quickly over the rope? Because I mean, it's not just about speed; it's about coordination as well. Because anybody can move their legs that quickly, well, most anybody. But when you put the rope in the mix, I mean, if you don't have the coordination, you're going to trip over it within the first few revolutions.
Yes, and that's where the whips come in. So being able to have that timing and coordination with the speed rope of moving your arms and feet at the same time is the skill. It is the technique that is not just something you can just, I'm just going to do some speed.
Yeah.
No, you have to have that technique of being able to not miss and move your arms and feet at a certain speed at the same time. Is just not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Much respect to you. I saw some of those videos and I was like, man, that's pretty impressive. A lot of hard work and effort, dedication goes into that. So respect on that. And as far as so I always look at for training, I look at there's two components. I mean, you got to put in the work, but also I'm interested to know for competitive jump rope and training, what's your diet and nutrition like with that?
Uh, as far as a diet, I am not really a diet person. I pretty much eat anything I can eat. Um, I just don't eat a lot. I would maybe eat once or twice a day. Uh,
Okay.
and I would eat a meal. I wouldn't try to eat snacks. I stay away from junk food. I stay away from soda. But I would eat a burger.
Yeah.
I would eat chicken. So I just like meat. I'm a meat person. I don't really eat veggies. It's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say, you know, me eating the way I am is the great thing, but it's I like what I like.
Yeah.
I don't like
Yeah.
broccoli. I eat greens from time to time, but I'm not gonna force myself to eat like a vegetarian or drink smoothies and things like that when that's not something I prefer to eat. But I do not try to eat too much. I don't try to fill my belly up every day. I only eat when I'm very hungry. Other than that, I just eat what I eat.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I have kind of the same approach because I only eat like once or twice a day too. I skip the breakfast and I'll eat like I'll go like 18, 16, 18, 20 hours without eating. And
Yeah.
I stay away from the soda, the sugar, anything with sugar I try to stay away from. But
Yes.
I do eat. I try to stay away from the carbohydrates, the refined carbs, and go with the protein and the good
Yeah.
fats. So I think you and I are on the same wavelength there. Yeah,
A lot of protein. I eat protein every day. If
yeah.
I don't really eat I just eat protein. That's how I eat protein. Yep.
Oh, that's good. That's good because I'm just wondering how. I mean, because like you said, everybody is different from that respect, and what works for one person might be terrible for somebody else. So it's all about experimenting. I was just wondering because not a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people are involved with training the way that you have trained. So I didn't know if you had a specific diet that you followed.
Yeah, I would say if I did, get to the Olympics, I would maybe have to change my diet because that type of training I'm gonna dedicate my all to. Being on the Olympic stage, I'm gonna do the best I can to have my body at the best shape I can to win. So if I have to change my diet and I'm not gonna eat broccoli. Doesn't I'm not gonna eat broccoli. But greens. If I have to eat greens every day, eat salad every day, just to go to the Olympics and compete, I'm gonna do that.
Sure.
But it just for me, it was never that serious. Um, it was very serious, but it wasn't serious to the point where I needed to change my diet. I just trained harder.
Okay.
Because when competition came around, we would go from 4 days a week to every day. Every day we trained. Tuesday, Thursday, that's when we added in. Friday was our only rest day because my mom, she worked and she would have to do a lot of work on Fridays. So Friday we would rest, but Saturday and Sunday we were right back. And at the time, we were also doing performances. Performances would come along, and people want us to perform for them, whether that was the NBA or even Barack Obama or something like that. We would have to be ready for that. So we also train for competition, and we also train for performances.
Okay. No, that's good. So these days, what does your workout routine look like these days?
As far as like now in the COVID times or before COVID.
No, just what you do on a regular workout day. What do you do to stay
As
in
far as
shape?
a regular workout day, I would say, basically, this I would try to run it the same way my practice would run.
Okay.
Not as strenuous because I don't like to run. Even
Yeah,
though I did run when I practice, I don't just run for fun. People like to run and jog. I don't do that. I believe jump rope is my cardiovascular workout.
yeah,
So
sure,
I'll warm up with about 200 jumps, and then I would get the stretching, and then that's when I would just let the rope take me where it take me, whether I was gonna do a real workout that day, or I just wanted to do some freestyle. Either way, I still, you know, put work to my body. So it just depends on what I'm gonna do that day. But I always warm up and I always stretch right after just to get my body ready. I'm not just gonna grab my rope and say, "Oh, I'm gonna do a backflip." I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna warm up. I'm gonna stretch, and then I'm gonna get my body warm and be ready and warm my body up to doing what I'm gonna do that day.
sure, sure. That's what I like about jump rope is you don't really have to have a plan to get something out of it. You can just go with it. Because you
Yep.
don't just like I still run just because I have to in the military because we still get graded on our running. But
Okay.
you have to almost have a plan to do a run. You got to know how far you're gonna go, especially if it's on the treadmill. At least that's what I found. But with jump rope, you don't really need it. You can just get in there and start moving.
Yep. So um, I would just let the rope take me where it takes me. Whether I was gonna do multiples that day, power, manipulation, either way, they will all mix in at some point. Whether I want to do a workout, push ups, double unders, I'm still jumping.
Yeah,
I may not do all jump rope in the workout, but jump rope is involved. And I'm still going to try to get some jump rope workout in as far as what I'm going to do. I may not do all jump rope, but I am going to jump rope and I'm going to try to do something cool to better my workout.
sure, sure. So that's a good philosophy. But what specific stretches are you doing and which stretches do you think people who are just starting with jump rope or who are further along in their jump rope journey would benefit from?
I would say stretches are, to me, are typical stretches. We do legs together, touch your toes. Then we go straddle, touch your toes, touch your right toe, or your right foot, your left foot. Then I would say sit down, do butterfly. We also do like a squat stretch where you squat down and you open your legs up. And we also cross over and have our arms like that. We also do arm stretches, so just the typical stretches, but we don't um take it easy. We make sure we get all the stretches in. We make sure we stretch every part of our body so that we don't injure ourselves, because the jump rope that we're doing is not just single bounce or speed or swishes. We're doing actual things that could hurt you,
Yeah,
and actually tear something or pull something depending on what you're doing.
sure, sure. And this kind of goes into this question here, but over your career, how have you dealt with injury? How have you dealt with and prevented injury throughout all the years you've been jumping?
Right. Okay. So this is something that I mean, I'm not a professional at it. I tore my Achilles. I've you know injured both my knees. I've sprained my ankle a lot of times.
Mhm.
I'm just glad that I'm able to still jump to this day. Um, to me, I think what comes from not being injured and um, not hurting myself is just the knowledge of what I'm doing. Gaining that knowledge and figuring out what to do, and also listening to my coach is what helped me to not injure myself every time I get out there on the floor. And having that knowledge of knowing that when I do this crisscross, I'm not going to do this crisscross and have my toes pointed down to the ground so that I fall over. I'm going to make sure that my toes are pointed up. I'm going to make sure that I'm crossing all the way, and I'm going to make sure that I pick my feet up so that I'm getting over the rope. Now, depending on the trick, on how hard the trick can be, I'm going to use a mat. I'm going to make sure that it is something that I can do without hurting myself. And if I can't do it, and I'm having that fear of not being able to do it, I'm going to see and gain knowledge on how I can not hurt myself so that I can do it and take away that fear that I have in myself.
Sure. And then as far as, so you said you've sustained some injuries. What was your I mean, the Achilles, that's a rough one. I mean, I've heard Achilles is worse than breaking a bone. And so when you sustain an injury like that, what does your recovery process look like to get back? Because obviously you made it back and you're still jumping at an expert professional level.
Yeah, so I tore my Achilles in 2019. I was doing a performance in Saudi Arabia, and I was doing a round off back handspring on a stage, but the stage wasn't the best stage. And I landed at a part where the stage was, because it's put together. So it was like a little crack in the stage, and one part of the stage was a little bit higher than the other. So
Mm.
when I landed, the front part of my foot landed on one part of the stage, and the back part of my foot landed on the other side. So it was like my foot landed here, and that's when it just snapped.
Yeah.
I just felt the snap, but after that I didn't feel any pain. I
Wow.
thought I could keep going. I took my first jump and almost fell back down to the ground.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, yeah, I can't keep going in the middle of a performance. So people were watching, people seen this,
Yeah.
and I was
Wow.
all the way in Saudi Arabia. So that's that was something, and I thought it was nothing. I just thought I maybe sprained my ankle or something like that. But when I got home and they told me, yeah, you tore your Achilles and you need surgery now. So within a week of me landing, I had already had surgery after I tore my Achilles. And
Wow.
then 2 weeks later, I went right back out to Saudi Arabia to perform again with a boot on.
Well, how did you manage that with a boot on? I mean, what could you do?
Uh, well, a
Yeah.
lot of one leg jumping. Like one leg frog. So you would do a frog off one leg and then land back on one leg. Push up with one foot. And I also have a move where I'm not really using my feet. So I just didn't jump with my feet. And
Mhm.
I did a lot of turning because I did have people with me. I had Elias and Sega. Shout out to them from France. I had them with me, and they're amazing jumpers, so they were able to do most of the jumping, and then I would do a little bit of jumping, but uh, I didn't do too much.
Sure. And then how long did it take for you to get back to the point where you were your old self again after that injury?
So I would say didn't leave the bed for about 5 months. Uh,
Wow.
I was in a cast, and they told me that it needed to be elevated for 24 hours, basically all day. Um, so I didn't walk around. I just made sure that my legs stayed elevated because I just wanted to, make it back the best way I can, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't do anything to mess up the process of healing. Uh,
Yeah.
but you know, if I did leave, I would go to the doctor. So I had my father take care of me. He would bring me food and things like that. But I never left my room for about 5 months because I was just in a cast and I didn't know what to do. It was my first serious injury where I had surgery, and it was just a process where mentally I had to think about whether or not I was going to keep jumping.
Sure.
Uh, so once I got out of that cast and I was able to get a boot and start walking, then I realized, oh, well, maybe I can do this. So I got back into a boot after my cast. So when I was in Saudi Arabia, they gave me a boot, um, and it wasn't the best, medical care. Then I went back home and they gave me a cast with the boot. So I was able to have a cast and then a boot to go around it. And then when I came back home, I had to get another type of cast, a harder cast, and that cast is what really held me down. It hurt and it itched a lot. So that cast was something else, and that's when I was just like, I'm just gonna sit here and let it heal. And I got back into a boot and I was able to walk around. And I was like, maybe I could, start jumping. So that took about 3 more months in a boot, walking around and getting my foot, stronger, to even start jumping. And then I started jumping in November of 2019. And then a month later, I actually did a competition, the NDDL Classic. Well, not Classic, but the NDDL competition that is held every year in New York. I did that competition and I actually did something that I probably shouldn't have. Luckily, I didn't get hurt, but um, I, made it through, and that's when I really gained my confidence that I could really start jumping again. Then, so after that, I realized that maybe I was jumping too fast. So 2020, um, I made sure that I just toned it down a little bit. I made sure I didn't do anything too serious to re-injure myself. So that took about 6 months, and then 6 months after that, COVID. Well, I mean, COVID in COVID, I realized that I could just start jumping more and more. So basically, I think I had an easy process of getting back on my feet because I'm not worrying about competition, because of COVID and stuff like that. So I just had time to heal, and it's been about 2 years now.
Wow. I mean, you said easy, but that doesn't sound easy at all. A lot of respect to you for being able to deal with that. I mean, 5 months without doing any jump rope, that must have been difficult.
It was very difficult. I just had support. That was the best thing for me because just going from jumping years, I would say 15 plus years, and then hurting yourself and not jumping at all, it was a process, to say the
Yeah.
least.
So I'm glad you got through it and you're back to your regular self again, back to your old self again. That's good.
Yes.
Glad to
Yes.
hear that, man.
Thank you so much.
So I think we got time for one more, and this is the catch-all question. What advice do you have for people who are just starting with jump rope? Some things maybe you would have done differently, or some things that you believe contributed to your success in your jumping career. What advice would you give to people?
The first thing I would say is pick up a rope and jump. Try it out. You've heard of it, you've seen it, but you're scared to do it, or maybe you just don't think it's that important. It is very important. It is the best cardiovascular thing for your. I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to give you scientific terms, but I know that it improves your heart, it improves your lungs, and everybody wants to be healthy. You don't, you don't want to be healthy, and even American Heart Association is saying that jump rope is the best. That's why they did jump rope for heart,
Mhm.
to improve your cardiovascular. So pick up a rope, start jumping, and you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You can just single bounce, you can double bounce. But as long as you're picking up a rope and starting to jump, eventually you'll be able to do whatever you want to do with it. Whether you want to work out better or go compete, just pick up a rope and try it out. Um, as far as my success, I would say if you want to go that far, you have to put in the work. It doesn't come easy. There is no natural jumper in jump rope. You have to put in the work. It is something that is not given to you. You have to learn everything, you have to master everything, and there is so much for you to master. Even now, there are new tricks being done. So if you want to get out there, you can, and you can learn it, but it depends on how much work you want to put into to go as far as you want to go.
Man, that's great. I couldn't have said it better than that. That's awesome. I appreciate that advice. I'm sure everyone else does as well. That's stuff you gotta take to the heart. But it is true what you said. There's nobody who's able to start jumping rope. There's too much coordination involved.
Yep.
You're exactly right about that. So
A lot of coordination is involved. And for you to start jumping, it just takes a jump over the rope. But for you to keep jumping, you have to be able to coordinate your arms and your feet at the same time just to keep jumping over and over again without making a mistake. I
yeah,
would one of the hardest things in jump rope is just not being able to miss and get that frustration of making that mistake over and over again. seeing how long you can go, see how fast you can go. So pick up a rope, start jumping. I promise you, you'll like it. There's a community behind it, and there are jumpers all over the world.
Yeah.
So pick up a rope.
Hey, Brandon, thanks a lot for coming on to the channel, man. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your expert advice and your wisdom.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.
All right. Peace, man.
All right.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and for listening to this podcast. Again, respect to Brandon for taking the time to come on to the show and to share his thoughts on jump rope and to share the wisdom and the knowledge that he's accumulated over 20 plus years of rope jumping and competing on the professional level. So thanks a lot. Please subscribe. You can follow Brandon at Jump Rope Champion on Instagram. You can also subscribe to his channel. If you search for Jump Rope Champion on YouTube, you can subscribe. I believe that he drops videos every week or so. So definitely subscribe to his channel as well. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, keep getting after it. Jump rope to freedom. Peace. Thanks for your support.